Seches Bava Kama Daf Kuf Yud Ches Amud Beis. We're in the top of Kuf Yud Ches Amud Beis. It's Shiur's Nishmas of Imir Menachem Ben Akiva. Us Bas Shalom Salvas Moshe Rafus Yehudis Bas Rivka. Volafuas Estofon Bas Shoshana Malka. Volafuas Tomo Bas. Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Abraham Yeshua.
Shmuel Abraham Ben Yehudis. Lebas Tomo. Norman Krobus. Mention. And let's go. And every now we basically said in the previous year what happens when does the theft term ends? Yeah, when does it end? In other words, when a Ganav returned a lost object, and we spoke about a lost sheep, not lost, excuse me. He returned a stolen object, and while it was by him, it was considered under his responsibility fully. Even if anything happens to the sheep, be'oines gomu, struck by lightning, still it's his achrayas. Now it's back in the hands of the original, real, legal owner, but the owner doesn't yet know that it was returned to him. And then at that happy moment, at that specific moment, something happened to the animal. So we said that at that moment, before the Bailim know, sometimes we say that the Ganev is still considered the Ganev, and the Achrayas is still his. And if anything happens to the sheep, even though it's geographically in the hands of the owner, still, what do we say? Say that it's considered his Achrayas and he has to pay. However, the Mishnah sounded a bit ambiguous about if he did know or if he didn't know, and that brought us into if did he or didn't he know originally that the item was stolen, right? I'm very happy that you, Baruch, you're mechaven to the Meiri. The Meiri said something you said about what we're about to review. What did Rav say? You can see it in the charts. I don't actually have the chart in front of me, but I hopefully remember it myself. And that is that, yeah, okay. Say that. Says Rav like this. If there was the idea, if the person knew that there was a theft and he actually was aware that it wasn't there, the owner, then when you give it back, you have to let him know, here is the sheep and it was stolen. Why? The same level of knowing that it's not there and knowing that it's not under his responsibility, mihu, the owner, now you have to let him know it is under your responsibility. As much as he was missing the responsibility, realizing, oh, the sheep is not here, it was stolen, I know it was stolen, and he brought it back. Now you have to bring it back to his mind. Yes, it is your responsibility. If he thinks that it's still by the Ganav, he's not aware of it. Oh, the owner. So the owner is not a Chroy. Somebody has to be the big boy. Somebody has to be in charge. Yeah, he was aware of the fact that it's by Mr. Ganav Ganovsky. So now it's not. Up until then, you didn't close the circle. Now, if there was no awareness, if he didn't know that it was stolen, you still have to let him know how. By him counting it, you don't really have to let him know. But once it's there and he counted sheep, he's going to sleep. Yeah, he counted the sheep and he saw that all the sheep are there. That level of counting, and that's in the original document, the colors, if you can notice, is a bit lighter. Yeah, that's called second grade awareness. Why? Because as Baruch said, when somebody counted 50 sheep and then the day later it was 49, okay. I don't know if he even knew that he was stolen or not. And then 50, he's not really fully aware of what's going on. Maybe he lost count. That's what the Meiri says. Or maybe he thinks another sheep came from another herd and he's not really worried about bringing it back, to the real owner or something. In other words, when you count 50 and again there's 50, you sort of are aware of what's going on, but not as much. You don't really know the whole story, right? Ever happened to you? I lost something. Here it is again. Maybe it was stolen. Okay. All ends well, everything is happy end. Now I have the 50, it's fine, but it's not really sure, he's not fully aware. So according to Rav, that's enough in case there was no awareness, so you need awareness, a lower level. What did Shmuel say? Shmuel said, no, it's enough, both Reisha and Seifa, both parts of the Mishnah, according to Shmuel, are what? Both parts of the Mishnah are telling us that to count is enough. Then there was Rabbi Yochanan. What did Rabbi Yochanan say? Rabbi Yochanan is even lighter, even more lenient. What did Rabbi Yochanan say? He said, no. If there was awareness, he knew that he was stolen. I call him the victim and victimizing. the victim, the nignav, the nigzal, knew there was a theft, for that, says Rabbi Yochanan, it's enough that he counted. He doesn't have to listen to my soppy confessions. All he needs to know is that the sheep, there were 50 sheep, now 50 again. He's not aware exactly of all the details. So what? At the end of the day, he knows that he has 50 sheep. There was 50, now there's 50. Everything is all back to normal. Showing good enough, even though he was aware that there was something, a theft. But if there was no awareness, if he himself, now listen to Rabbi Yochanan's logic, if he himself was not aware of the theft, he's not such an amazing shomer, right? He's not such an amazing bailim. You know, he was shakur in the smartphone while the sheep got stolen, right? He didn't even know. If so, so better. So now he doesn't know either. I don't have to let him know, right? He doesn't know, so he keeps not knowing, and it's still out of my achrayus, me the ganev. Physically, the only what was lacking from him is the physical sheep, not in his mind, in his possession. Back to his possession, it's good enough. That's Rabbi Yochanan. And here came Rav Chisda. Rav Chisda turned everything completely upside down. And obviously, what Rav Chisda says only applies to sheep. Rav Chisda is mamish like Rav, but the other way around. Mamish crisscross like Yaakov Avinu and his grandchildren. What did Rav Chisda say? He says, "Punkt verkehrt. If you knew that there was a theft, you're a very good shomer. What a caring, involved owner you are. And you knew there was theft. So now you don't even have to know. What do you have to know then? In what case? What does it say in the chart? All you have to know is what? Counting. Once you counted, that's good enough, right? Rav says, Ladas, minyan poiter. As long as you knew there was theft, you were aware there was a theft. And therefore you know that there's one of the sheep who's a naughty girl. She already went to other people's fields and she is used to other environments and she may very well want to run away there, right? You know there's one of the 50 in your herd, even if you don't know which one, because you're not told specifically. You have second grade knowledge. I know that one of the 50 girls in my sheep or girls and boys in my class, one of them was exposed to the outside world. I'll have to be guarding all of them better. I have to give better shmirah to all of them together. That's good enough. If there was no awareness, then you have to let him know that this particular dolly, that one was stolen because you didn't know. You didn't know that one kid in your herd was off the derech, then he was in a different field, right? And therefore you have to know, you the ganev have to let him know, this particular one needs extra shmirah. That's Rav Chisda, that's highly supported right from the start by Rove. Rove was the fan of Rav Chisda's svara, and that's Rav Chisda. So, okay. Weiter. Frag the Gemara. Okay. I'm telling you now, I'm not in North Korea, but we are like halfway. We're, I don't know, in Cuba, because we have to finish before Tuesday. Yeah. Did Rabbi really say that? Was Rabbi really such a supporter of Rav Chisda? Listen to the following story. We are Kuf Yud Ches Amud Beis in the second line. The second line of the page Kuch Kiach Amud Beis. Did Rabbi really say that, supporting Rav Chisda's last svara? Rabbi says the follows. One person saw his friend, not such a good friend, who picked up what? An imra, one sheep from his. Reuven saw Shimon stealing a what? A sheep from his herd in order to steal it. Mamish, the guy's a ganav. He shouted at him, hey, yo! There was a shout out, hey, leave that sheep alone. The shadye, and he threw it back. He saw his image from the distance. He saw him throwing on the floor the sheep. But he didn't know. He didn't know. In other words, he knew there was a theft, yeah, but he didn't know if there was a return. Why? He saw him throwing it down, but he didn't see if he threw it over the fence back to the herd, or if he just threw it back, stamped there on the spot, and not doing chazorah. He doesn't know whether there was proper chazorah back to the herd, back to the flock, or not. And then you know what happened? Umeis oy nignav. And then the sheep was either died suddenly, unexpectedly, or was stolen, meaning oines. Chayiv b'achrayusoy, Mr. Ganev, who for sure returned, but we don't know if he for sure stole, but we don't know if he returned. So chai b'achrayusoi, my love, must be what? The Gemara wants to interpret now, afal gav the money. Even though he counted the sheep, we assumed that the shomer, the owner, we assumed that the owner counted the sheep and he found there were 50. Now there's back to be 50. And yet, even though there was knowledge, full knowledge of theft, he saw the guy stealing, and in return, the cycle ended by counting them and finding the number intact, then still we say that he still has to pay. The cycle of the Gneva was not over. And that's, if you look in the chart, against Rav Chizda. Rav Chizda says if there was knowledge of theft of any of the sheep without realizing which one, it's enough to count. Here in the statement of Rava, we see otherwise, that if you count it, it's not good enough. And says Gemara, simple answer, loy. The loy mani. No. Enachinami. We're talking here about a shepherd, an owner who did not count. When we say that the Gneva cycle is not yet over, the Gneva term is not yet over, what do we mean when we say that? It's because he didn't even count. It was zero knowledge. No. Zero knowledge doesn't work with Rav Chizda. Check the chart. No. Rav Chizda always says you need some kind of knowledge, either first grade or second grade. But yoytze beloy klum, ptur beloy klum, efshar. Of course, you have to have some kind of knowledge, and therefore that's Rava who supports Rav Chizda. Yeah.
And afterwards, after the theft, still counting. The thief, according to Rav Chizda, is paying a knas because he has to pay for the sheep that he stole.
No knas. Not a knas.
So it's because
nothing here is a knas.
He's getting paid for an extra sheep for nothing. If he stole it.
No knas. No knas whatsoever. Which knas? He's chai b'achrayusoi. He's still chai b'achrayus. There. With all this chart, there are only two situations here. Either the Gneva term is ended, and therefore from that point onwards, the Ganav says, sorry for my language, I don't care what happens to your sheep anymore, I returned it. I can tick the box, finished. Or the Gneva term is not yet over for whichever reason, and then what? And then whatever happens to the sheep is still under his responsibility. It's not a knas. You mean kefel? Kefel is a different story, which we're not discussing now. That's a different story. Weiter. Frag the Gemara, Umi Omar Rav Hachi. Did Rav say what he said? What did Rav say? Let's review. Rav said that if there was full knowledge of the theft, there has to be full knowledge of the return. If there was no knowledge of the theft, there has to be second grade knowledge of just counting. As long as he knows they're there, I'm okay with the Ganav. Umi Omar Rav Hachi. Did Rav really say that? Listen to what Rav says. V'Omar Rav. Oh, did you ever rent a car? And you rent a car, I'm talking about England, that's what I'm used to. Yeah, it's very cool to drive in England. It's one of the fun, really very, very fun thing to do. It's better than any amusement park. And what? And I never did that really, but theoretically, you rent a car in London and you return it to the same company, Hertz, in Manchester. Can you do that? Yes, you can, but it costs much more. So that's why I don't do it. You borrowed from I don't know, in New York and you return it in LA. I'm sure it's doable, yeah? So Elamite costs more. Oh, listen to what Rav has to say about that. But instead of renting, the guy stole a car from one of the Avis's agencies in London. Feels bad. At the end of the trip to Manchester, he gives it back to Avis in Manchester. No, is that good? Correct the Gemara. Listen to what Rav says. Let's say the person returned it to the Eider in the Midbar. He stole the sheep in the Eider from the flock that are in town, in the village, and he returned it to the same person's, he has many different herds, many different sheep, to the one in the Midbar in the desert, and the original owner who knew that he was stolen, right, does not know now that he was returned in a Midbar, because he has no idea, he didn't even count it. He can't count what's in the Midbar, he doesn't have CCTV in the Midbar, right? So what do you see? So you see that Rav says that zero knowledge is good enough. Rav never said that, right? Both versions of Rav, both options of Rav, never say you can just give it back in outer space, in Midbar, without the knowledge of the owner, yeah, and Yotza. He has a shepherd in the Midbar, so what? But the shepherd doesn't know of the theft. Yeah, one branch doesn't know what the other one does, so there is no knowledge. Big Chiddush. What's Birku Oso? Birku Oso, there was a very particular looking sheep that has many spots on it. One sheep looks very different. Yeah, it has big spots on its back and all over, or I would say a gingy. Somebody that one sheep that everybody can recognize as the sheep. That's the one everyone talks about, everyone recognizes very easily. So then that's called enough of a knowledge, and that's Rab's Chidush. In other words, let's say there was knowledge of the theft of Spotty, and that Spotty was returned where? In the Midbar, right? So even though, there was nobody told the Bailim himself, but somebody in the company knows that Spotty was returned. The return of Spotty, they can make a book out of it, They know that he was returned. Mimela, and the Bailim will be aware of it at some point, that sheep was returned. At that point, when he knows that Spotty was returned, that's good enough. And that's what it says, as far as I remember, if the sheep is very recognizable, then even though there was no counting, but we see that image of that sheep in the herd, then Mimela, we know that that's good enough, and that's called knowledge of Chazar. It's another alternative kind of knowledge, which is not in the chart. No. Yeah, that's called full awareness. Also, Rav, we're in Rav now. Rav also holds a full return, just a different case. So it's called full knowledge. Yeah. I'm sorry, it's not accounting. Okay. Let us say like the Tanoim. In other words, what do you mean let us say like Tanoim? That's bad news. What? If you need full knowledge, it's machlokes. We're now all we're saying is a new case. If all we said, you're going back to Rekuasa. Le'emek Tanoim means let's say the machlokes amaroim is a problem. Why? BD, very good, very good. Why do you for Choshev Amaroim have to argue when really the same machlokes we really are going to split now the 4 into 2 pairs, and we're going to claim that the machlokes between 4 Amaroim is really machlokes between 2 Tanoim, and that's bad news. Because if the Tanoim already argued, why are the Amaroim, as you say, reinventing the wheel? Listen to the story of Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva. A person who stole, there are 2 machlokes in 2 cases. Case number 1, one who stole the sheep from the herd, from the flock. The sela minakis, that's different. He stole a sela, he stole a coin, big coin, a 200 shekels note, from someone's pocket, from someone's wallet. Lemokam shagonav yachzir diva Rabbi Shmuel. Says Rabbi Shmuel, put it back to wherever it was. The other one, none the wiser. You don't have to inform anybody. You don't have to start confessions. We don't care about your mother didn't give you pizza. It's all fine. Just put it back in wherever it was, and life is good. And you're not going to be a chroi anymore on whatever happens now with the money or the sheep, says Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Kiva, no, tzorch das bailim. Rabbi Kiva argues on Rabbi Shmuel, as he often does. Rabbi Kiva says, no, you have to let the bailim know. As long as you didn't let the bailim know, and something would happen to the money or the sheep, you'll still remain responsible. Savrua. Now, before we hit the boom, before we throw the bomb at what the Amoraim said, we have to preface it by something for Bava Metzia. Savrua, we thought originally when we asked the question, the Kula Alma Islo de Rabbi Yitzchak, we assume that both Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Shmuel agree with the concept of Rabbi Yitzchak. What did Rabbi Yitzchak say? Doma Rabbi Yitzchak. The assumption before we set the artillery attack, we set here the weapons, and we say, listen, everyone agrees to the concept, the psychological concept of Rabbi Yitzchak, which he uses in halacha, that a person is likely to open his wallet and memashmesh and count his money and know what's going on in his wallet, b'chol shah v'shah, very, very often. You go shopping on Friday, let's say, okay, today it's a credit card. You see how much money you have as you go along from shop shoppa. You buy flowers, you buy shoes, you buy socks. You know what's going on in your wallet, in your cash wallet, and therefore what? So we assume when it comes to money, there's constant, very often, very periodical, counting of the money. Speaking of counting as knowledge, now let's build our case. My love must be, so what's the machloikis here between Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva? Again, what did Rabbi Shmuel say? Rabbi Shmuel is easier with the thieves. Rabbi Shmuel says what? Once it's back, it's fine. Yalla, you're geographically there, it's good enough. Rabbi Akiva says, no, you need to confess and tell him that you stole. My love. Besela leda'as ubeplukta de Rav Shmuel. Oh, besela leda'as. What's besela? When it comes to money, we talk about someone who stole and the person knew, the victim knew about the theft. What's the machlokes between Rav Shmuel? Look at the chart, Rav Shmuel. If there was knowledge of the theft and the victim is aware, Rav says you have to give him full awareness back, full guarantee. You have to let him know. So therefore here, it's not enough that he's going to count the money. Use the pun. Don't count on the fact that he's going to count the money. Rav holds you have to let him know. Hey, mister, you have to know. Because again, money has nothing to do with behavior. Rav and Shmuel are not the ones who spoke of the behavior. Only Rav Chisda did. So that's why we split Rav Shmuel versus Rabbi Yochanan Rav Chisda. The turn amount is now divided into two. Lahavdil. Rav says you have to know. There was knowledge you have to know. I don't care if it's cheaper money or your stocks or your computer. Shmuel says, come on, easy with the guy. Shmuel is like who? Rabbi Shmuel. Shmuel, Rabbi Shmuel. They say, no, be easy. It's enough. He's going to count. Nobody supports the Ganovim. He's going to count it anyways. He realized, oh, the 50 shekels are gone. Next, I'm going to slip it in. I'm following him in the Merkaz Mischari. I'll slip it in his wallet. Next shop is going to open into the next flower store. He's going to see the 50 shekels there. That's Shmuel and Rabbi Shmuel. And Rabbi Akiva was like who? Like Rav. Very nice. Or not so nice. Yeah, but now they fit very well. Each Shamar with each Tana. What about Betale? Loy, we skip the Loy. Betale. Now, when we speak about behaviors of animals, and that's Betale Shaloladas. Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Shmuel also argued in Taleh. That Taleh, we talked that there was no knowledge of the Taleh being stolen. We have to make such a nukimta, and that would fit very nicely to who? We looked at Rav Chisda Rabbi Yochanan. Look in the charts, opinion 3 and 4. Rav Chisda Rabbi Yochanan. What does Rav Chisda say when there was no knowledge of the sheep, and he doesn't know that the sheep has been in bad ways? She's been to the cinema in Tel Aviv. And what? And now what? Now you have to look after it very well and know this sheep was stolen. Who says that? Rav Chisda. Rabbi Akiva is like Rav Chisda. Rabbi Yochanan says, easy guy, easy, forget. Lola das, who cares? Rabbi Yochanan talks about the person's conscience, the shepherd. He never cared. He never cared about her to begin with. He never, he didn't know she was stolen. So now he has to know she's back. He'll keep being uncaring. Yeah, she can go to Tel Aviv for her life. I'm saying like, Rabbi Yochanan's l'chatchila, it's mitzad the consciousness of the owner. Mimeila Rabbi Yochanan is very good with Rabbi Shmuel. Oh, nice or not so nice. We fit it so perfectly. Another problem is why do Amoraim have to repeat the machlokes of the Tanoim? Amar Rav Zvid Mishmei Derove. No, Rav Zvid Mishmei Derove comes and he wants to untangle and divorce the two machlokesim, the Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Akiva machlokes, to be divorced between the four opinion machlokes of the Amoraim. He wants to say like this. Baruch Hashem, the shomer shegona mirshus bailim are actually not shomer. I'm sorry, this is not the version that we have by us. Shegona mirshus bailim, a regular ganav who stole from the bailim, regular ganav. It's the ganav, like you see, like the classical case, who stole straight from the bailim. Kul alma loy pligi k'der Rav Chisda. That's Rove. Rove is the supporter of Chisda. Says no. A shomer who stole from the bailim, everyone would agree, like Rav Chisda. No machlokes. I mean, of course, each Amor can say his own opinion. Rava represents Rav Chisda because he's a fan of Rav Chisda. So what's machlokes? So what do they argue about? The shomer shegonav mirshusoi. A shomer was going of himself. Oy, what a traitor! The shomer, you know that the roim are muchzik to be ganovim. The roya, the shepherd, my shepherd is a bit ganim. The shomer, it's like some people that ozeret, the thief. A shomer shegonav mirshusoi. The shomer himself, look what he did. He took the sheep, the shepherd, and actually physically removed it from the herd when he was grazing into his house, into his domain. And then he has bad feelings, remorse, oy vavoy, gneva, oy. I'm not going to get a shidduch. And then what? What does he want to do? He says, you know what I'm going to do? I'll put it back with the rest of the herd, and then I'm good. That's actually a very, very tricky question. That's an argument. Is it enough for the shomer? And we're going to get a very philosophical, cute point over here. When the shomer / ganav, I stress, shomer / ganav, who is now choizer b'teshuva, And now he says, no, I'm again not a ganav. Therefore, what am I back to be? I'm back to being the loyal shomer. So putting it back in my shmira area, is that good enough? Do I represent the Bailim now that it's considered as if it came back to the embassy of the Bailim or not? Rabbi Akiva Sovar, Rabbi Akiva says, no, Mister, listen, honey. Says Rabbi Akiva to the shomer, Choizer b'tshuva ganav. It's very nice you want to do tshuva. Oh, very nice. Wow, I'm impressed. I'm in tears from a sincere kavanah, says Rabbi Akiva to the shomer, but you're not a shomer anymore. Once you stole, and you want to quickly and quietly put it back to the original place, you didn't finish your gneva term. Why? You can only finish your gneva term when you put it back in the house of the owner or in the embassy, so to speak, in the shmir area of the owner. You lost that crown. Once you were a ganav and you didn't even confess, you may not be a ganav anymore, you're chuzr b'tshuva, but you're not a shomer either. You're not yet being back to be a shomer. You lost the trust of the banim, so you don't represent him anymore. So the place where you're a shomer is not a good embassy for the banim. Such a cool zach. Get me? You're not a ganav, but you took off the hat of the ganav, but you're not wearing again the head of the shomer. You lost his trust. So putting it back there quietly won't help you because you didn't put it in the domain of the balim. Because you are not anymore the domain of the balim. You're not a ganav, you're not a shomer either. You're off with your shmira. You lost the trust unless you confess, and then you'll have to talk about it over coffee. There'll be a different story. However, Rabbi Shmuel said, no, Rabbi Shmuel says, which means Rabbi Shmuel says something else. Shmuel says, no, the shmir is not over. Once I was a thief, bad boy, I'm not a shomer. Once I'm not a thief anymore because I quietly brought it back from my house to the rest of the herd, where I look after the rest of the herd, then I'm automatically changing, like, Shabbos clock, automatically change from ganav to what? Being back to being a shomer, okay? So if I brought it back to where the shomer is, and I happen to be the shomer, I brought it back to the embassy of the Bailim. Now it's under the ownership of the Bailim, and that's good enough. That's machlokas of Akiva and Rabbi Shmuel, and it is almost nothing to do with our machlokas. Our machlokas was straight gneva from Bailim, from Ganav to Bailim. Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Shmuel are more sophisticated. They talk about a case of a shomer who stole and wants to be back to be a shomer. That's a different machlokas. Yes, sir. Okay. Baruch is pointing out an important thing. The way I'm saying it is now, when it comes to the loyalty of the shomer, is he still called the shomer? Does he represent the original owner when he's not a ganav anymore and he puts it back to its original place? That applies the same exactly to both sheep and coin. It has nothing to do now with the behavior of the animal. No, it's to do with his loyalty. Is he now automatically being back to be a loyal shomer and therefore returning to where his herd, where he's looking after the herd of the owner? Is that gold chazorah? Exactly the same sheep, coins, or not smartphones, phones, whatever. Yeah, lo meshaneh, same thing. Because the shadla is, are you still wearing the crown of the shomer? Yes or no? That's all. And in that nekuda, does make a difference. And thank you for pointing it out. That was actually good.
Rabbi Yochanan and Bava Kama against Rav.
Everyone's against everyone.
If it's returned, and
if you look at the chart, each one is not exactly the same as the other one. In certain nekudas, everyone's against Rav, certain nekudas, everyone's against Rav Chisda. And if yes, fine, good. It's not a football. Sorry. look big. No. In certain nekudas, Rav's against everyone. Certain nekudas, Rav is against everyone. Each one to his own. Weiter. Okay. Says the Gemara. I lost the place. Lema minyan poiter tanoi. The line starts with the word tanoi, and it's about the 5th or 6th lines from the top of the wide lines. Let us say that minyan poiter. Do we say that counting is counting good enough or not good enough? Which everyone has something else to say within the four Meroim. That alone could be machlokas tanoim. Listen to the following case. Is counting considered knowledge of chazorah and we're off? That's it? The ganav can tick the box and say goodbye? Yes or no? If the guy counted without having full knowledge of the story. Let's see, the Tanya, look at the Brisa. A A person stole this from his friend, and here Rashi says clearly what I said. He feels bad. He's not a man to face it. He's shamtzach. He feels ashamed to return it and say in his face, "I'm sorry, I stole it." You know what he did? Next time, he sold him something. There was a transaction between them. The Ganev bought something from the victim, and he was supposed to pay. The Ganev was supposed to pay the victim 200 shekels for the meat that he bought in his store. And what did he give him? 250, and ran away. He stole 50 originally. He stole 50 shekels. Next time he visits his shop, he gives him 50 extra and buy, which means at the end of the day, the person will know that 50 extra are in his wallet. So he'll get it back. But that's a classical case of he's going to count it, we assume, right? But there's no full knowledge of the story. He didn't know that the 50 was stolen and brought back properly by Mr. Ganev Ganavsky. Is that good enough? Well, machalokes. Tani chada yotza. One Tana says, yotza, good. Once you did that, no price anymore. Even if that 50 shekels burns all of a sudden, gets a heart attack, the 50 shekel note, it's all fine. The other Tana says, no, it's not yotza. What's the machlokes whether yotza or not yotza? Is it the end of story or not end of story? It's a machlokes tanai tzavruah. Now we assume like this. The kula alma islu the Rabbi Yitzchak. We assume that both tanai believe in Rabbi Yitzchak's concept. Everyone agrees that the store owner very quickly will look at his wallet and what will realize, boom, there's an extra 50, and will start making his calculations. He'll realize that there is extra 50 there. Technically, it will happen. My love. So what is really the machlokes? The hakamiflagi must be the argument in the following case. The man domer yotza sovamini and poiter. The one who says yotza says the counting is good enough, as some people say, right? Yeah, Ellen, you agree. Somebody out there agrees minyan is poiter. With knowledge is who? Not Rav, Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan. Without knowledge, according to Rav, very nice. The one who says not yotze, counting is not enough. No. Why? Because Baruch told us, like the Meiri, counting is not exactly enough, because still he's not really responsible over those extra 50. He still thinks maybe the Baalim that 50 is a mistake and the real 50 are still stolen somewhere out there. So still in his mind not responsible over the money. We're not really mentally, it's not back in his mind to be responsible over that money. So now, so what do you have four more argue, each one against the other? That's already old, that's old stuff. It's machlokes tanoim. And says the Gemara, no. Amri, they say if the answer comes, here we're going to divorce the machlokes tanoim and machlokes tanoim. If you hold like Rabbi Yitzchak that a person is prone to count his money very often, then in a chinami kulal melopligi the minyan poito. Wow. Everyone would agree the minyan is poito. Some Amoraim are happier than others, but at least some people will explain minyan poito is good enough. Ela b'Rabbi Yitzchak hamiflagi could be or must be the gufa argument. Do we or don't we hold of Rabbi Yitzchak's concept, psychological idea that people count money all the time? Mar isle de Rabbi Yitzchak. Really, counting is good enough. The one who says you're potter says, I trust Rabbi Yitzchak. I hold with Rabbi Yitzchak that a person counts his money very often, all the time. And therefore what? And therefore the counting will take place. Once counting takes place, then I'm a friend of whichever Meroim said that. Rav without knowledge, Shmuel with knowledge, Rabbi Yochanan. Yeah, good. Now, Uman de Omar lo yotzo. Yeah, Umar. Leisle de Rabbi Yitzchak. The one who says yotze says, no, I just don't think Rabbi Yitzchak is right. And therefore the person will just not count it. There will be zero knowledge. Zero knowledge? No. Zero knowledge except for Rabbi Yochanan, right? Nobody lives in zero knowledge. And even Rabbi Yochanan says that if there was knowledge of the theft, there has to be some kind of knowledge of the return, right? So therefore, there's no counting, then of course you're not yotze. The person may live the next 50 years without realizing this 50 shekels, not 50 years, I'm joking. The next 50, hours without knowing that the money is there. That's not called any knowledge whatsoever. Of course it's bad. Now we have to know the system of money. Now, not all the complicated business. Before we continue the next Viboy Seima, you have to know that, I guess back then, there were like 3 different places where a person would put the money. You'd give the person the money to his hand, yeah? he would put it in the keys, which is like a pouch, a bit, like today's wallet, yeah. And then eventually he'll put it in the kupa, yeah. In other words, he'll put it in the box, in the cashier. Okay, it's a store owner. So today's store owners, they put the cash. If they get any cash, they put it in the right in the cashier, in that drawer, yeah, in the drawer. And what? The till, it's a till. So then what? Very good. And then, right, or back then they would first put it in the keys, in the pouch, and then in the till. Okay, so that's Biboy Sema. Now let's understand that. Another alternative explanation, Iboy Sema, how to explain the two opinions of the Tanoim. Was he or wasn't he Yoitze by playing a trick of just putting the 50 extra shekels as a mistake, ki'ilu, to return it to him in a respectful way without him knowing? The Kula Alma Islo Bitzvah. Everyone agrees that the keys, the pouch, the wallet, you do a sort of, count your money quite periodically, quite often. However, there's no difficulty here. And really, both opinions don't even argue. They don't even argue according to this. The one case is the money, the Ramelei Bekise. The Gazlan, as he went to the shop and he finished his meat purchase, he counted 250, yeah, and gave it straight to the pouch of the person. He put it in the pouch which was there on the counter of the seller, and therefore the seller in the kiss is going to count it, because anything that's in the kiss he always counts, and he will count and see, oh, there's an extra 50. And therefore that's good. When it's not good, the money v'rami leyode. If he counted it and put it in his hands, the hands of the nigzal, of the victim, he may skip the stage of he saw that those counting, maybe didn't follow 200, 250, but Lemaisa, he saw those counting, so some kind of trust. He saw there was counting, then you put it in his hand, he may skip the stage of putting it in the pouch and may put it straight in the box, straight in the till, and there he doesn't count it. There he only counts it at the end of the day, counts it at the end of the month, counts it at the end of the week. And because there's no counting, and by then he will be mixed up with lots of other monies, right? Today it's more organized with the computer, but at the end of the day, it's going to take stock. He won't notice the extra 50 shekels necessarily, and definitely not from this guy. That's not called counting properly, and therefore in that case it's not good enough. That's not called chazor. Iboy Seima is what? The third explanation. Both opinions don't argue, meaning sometimes it's true that counting is good and sometimes it's not. Both cases, no. The Gazlan counted and then Nigzal, the victim, put it in his kiss, in his wallet. No, the wallet, you count your wallet all the time. And you say that counting is good enough. So why is there one opinion who says that it's not called good chazor? The Isla Zuzia Chini Bekisei. The lace which means if the person had zero money in his wallet and he knows that he's now owed by his meat customer 200 shekels and there was zero in the wallet, even I would realize that it's 250. There was zero instead of 200 to 50. Oh, that guy was in the store right now. Okay, now I know that those 50 shekels that went on a trip are back home. That's very nice. But if there was another 573 shekels there already before anything started, and then instead of 2, it's 250, because there's more money there, the counting is not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily realize that extra 50 is punkbet, right? It mixes with other monies, other amounts, and therefore the calculation won't be as clear cut. And therefore, in that case, it's not called good counting and not called good chazor. And if anything would happen to the money at that point, the Ganev will still be liable. Good? Say that. Beautiful. Good. Says the Heilige Mishnah, as we know, one is not allowed to buy stolen goods. We're going to talk also a little bit about Shinui, but of course, if the item is not Mishuna, the item is still the same, then can't buy the item from the Ganev. There's no, even if you'll be the Shini Rishus, we said that the Bach says, explaining the Rambam, it's still the wrong thing to do, right? It will end up yours. Thank you. You created the Shini. That we discussed. Yeah, you'll give it dafka to give that virgin oil. You know who he is. Maybe. Yeah, that could be. So you're being like the Robin Hood. Says the Mishnah. One is not allowed to buy from the shepherds. The shepherds are known to be big ganovim. You cannot buy from them tsemer v'cholov v'gdim. Don't buy from them nor wool and not wool and nor cholov, which is milk, or kids, anything that's under their dubious shmira. Don't buy from them because it's muchzak. It's assumed to be stolen. Unfortunately, a guy works as a shomer bitochen, where by the orchard with oranges of belonging to another person. Surprisingly, all of a sudden, one sunny day comes to the market with what? Some oranges and some woods from the orange. That's interesting. I thought you were a computer programmer in your profession. All of a sudden, you guard someone else's oranges and you have oranges. Don't tell me stories. We are choishesh that this is not exactly clean. You have sticky fingers. Don't buy from him, even though he says, and even this and that. The assumption is, unfortunately, it's not. Not everyone is a thief. These people are assumed to be thieves, and we're going to see exceptions too. What about women? A woman, most of a woman's property, not all of it, belongs to her husband. A woman starts selling stuff. Maybe her husband doesn't agree. He's supposed to be the chief, finance minister in the house. She starts selling things. Maybe she stole from him because she wants to plan her next trip to Acapulco. Not everyone's the thief. Don't be so negative. Aval, I know that we're all Israelis. You take from the women, from the women, you are allowed to buy the following items. You're allowed to buy from them woolen garments in Yehuda, and garments made out of flax of linen in the Golil. Why? It's nothing to do with halacha yeredeh tzemer pishtim. Pashut, in those times of the Mishnah, these items were items belonging to women, and men didn't care that the woman sells her own thing. This is something it's accepted in those societies, those times, those places, Pishtan Begolil, Tzemer Beyehuda, that a woman runs her own business in those kind of areas. And Adrab, the husband, may be happy. She'll give him some of the money, all of it. That's all you keep it for herself for certain things. The Maisa, we assume these kind of things are under the ashgacha of the husband. It's not she starts selling, things that are more men, masculine oriented. Right. You see a woman who's not the great Shalom Weiss, started selling, the tefillin bag and the kiddush cup and the ties. That's a bit dubious already. Weiter. The Agolim b'Sharon. Agolim. I'm going now with Rashi's second shot. There are two shotim. The calves, the baby calf, the baby cow in the Sharon, in an area called Sharon. Nowadays it's between Tel Aviv and Haifa, more or less. In that area, people would own their own Agolim, and you don't assume it's a shepherd. People just buy Agolim, raise them there. Agolim in the Sharon are supposed to be trustworthy because in that area, people would actually own it and not give it over to a shepherd. The Kulan Sh'amur Lahatmin also, however, even in the exceptions to the rule, let's say the women or the Agolim or the whatever, they said, I'm making a condition. When you buy it, please keep it, indoors. Make sure nobody sees that woolen garment. She sells a woolen garment, but she tells you, it's better to wear it only indoors, not outdoors. Why does she want to hide it? And she tells you the instructions to only wear it inside. And she does want her husband to see that it's outside you wearing it, because really it belongs to him. Right? Then you're not allowed to buy it. However, eggs and chicken, you can buy everywhere. You can buy everywhere the eggs and the chicken, and we'll discuss that later. Why? But Lamaisa, as far as I know already now, I don't think they're under the ashgacha of a roya. I don't think they're under a shepherd. They usually looked after straight by the owner, so the person is probably the owner, the one who's selling you the chicken. But that we'll discuss again later, hopefully tomorrow. Says the Gemara, quick. Don't know about them. You're not allowed to buy from those very questionable shepherds, not izim, izim are the goats, the kids, gizin. Gizin are the pieces of properly cut, nice pieces of wool. The Tlushin Shel Tzemer. Tlushin Shel Tzemer is like, Tlushin Shel Tzemer is not a voucher. Tlushin Shel Tzemer is a piece of wool that's like cut off in a less sophisticated way. It's like, torn from the sheep. Yeah? Aval, you're not allowed to take that from the shepherds because Mistama, they stole it. You're allowed to buy a whole what? Garment made out of wool from the shepherd, because it belongs to the shepherd. Why does it belong to the shepherd? I need a minute of silence. Why is the woolen garment belonging to the shepherd? I'm not allowed to buy from the shepherd, Mr. Ganev shepherd, because he's a suspect, and therefore I'm not allowed to buy from him. The tzemer. Why am I? Oh, you want a trip to Sinai? Very nice. Yeah, Shinui, Maisa, Avada. There was Shinui. There was Gneva, Yush. He's Mayash from his Ashena shepherd, and there was Shinui Maisa, Ashena Maisa. What? He made from the wool. He made a whole nice leather jacket, not leather, a wool jacket. Yeah, he made it. It's all new item, and it was already Shinui. I'm not creating the Shinui. The Shinui was fully. It's been through the entire protocol completely before I came and I bought it. Again, I'm not saying I'm a tzaddik to buy it, but make your din, you're allowed to buy it. It's been through all the shinuim. Now he owes money to the owner, none of my business. Now, one more item. When you are allowed to buy from them cholav ugvina b'midbar. Very interesting. Maybe you're going to guess this one also. That's something just pure logic. Let's say you go to the midbar and you see a nice shepherd there with probably a ganav, yeah, and you buy from him cheese and milk, and his owner lives very good few kilometers away in RBSD, and he's way down in the Negev doing a shepherding there in the midbar, far away, and the milk and the cheese we assume belong to the shepherd, even though the sheep themselves belong to the owner is far away. So I'm allowed to buy the milk from the shepherd. However, if he grazes his sheep right over here in Kvish Eser, sometimes you see sheep over there, and the owner is very close, then we assume that the milk does not belong to the shepherd, only belongs to the owner, and you're not allowed to buy from the shepherd. Why? Simple reason. Even in 2022, what? No, that's a different. Everybody knows. You don't have to come out. We're going to see that. We're going to see it soon. Rabbi, even in 2022, even today, culture came back then, look quick. Simple. You guys are so Talmudic. I'm so proud of you. You think like a Panavisher. It's very good, very nice. Simpler. You're not, when the owner who lives 20 kilometers away gave him the shepherds, that owner is not expecting to get the milk every morning. So obviously the milk is not going to be shipped to the owner every morning to his doorstep, right? Not even today, I don't think so. Yeah. Mimela, it was the original agreement, Mistome, was that the shepherd will keep it as his maskolet, as his salary. Mimela can sell it to me. Hashem can. Okay, that's what you meant. Fine. Very good. That's what Baruch said. I'm sorry. Even without that, it's such a technical thing. If the guy if he's doing the shepherding right here, of course, I do expect you to bring me right to Nachal Lachish. It's only 5 minutes drive away. Bring me every morning the milk and the cheese. You don't. You're gonna. If it's nearby, you as a customer are not allowed to buy it from the shepherd. If that's what you guys meant to say, very good, excellent, amazing. Now, what you're going to say about noticeable is going to be a big story soon. You're right, but soon. Now, beloichin mehen, you're also allowed to buy from them for dalet vehei tzon, dalet vehei gizin. When it comes to numbers, to big numbers, you're allowed to buy from the shepherd 4 or 5 sheep, or 4 or 5 pieces, big pieces of wool, big strands of wool. But if it's only 2, 4 or 5 is okay, but 2 sheep or 2 pieces of gizim, that you're not allowed to buy from him. I think there's number 3 in the middle, I'm not sure, but 3 is missing here. Rabbi Yehuda says as follows. Soon we're going to see all the reasons, No, I'll tell the reason already now. Now, Tzvi, you kick in. Now is your moment of stardom. We're going to talk about that too. When a person, a shepherd sells me, let's say 5, we said 4 or 5 is going to be a question soon. 5 sheep in one go is something that even the most spaced out owner would notice. As we all know, the Novim tend to steal, unless not the mafia. The petty thief who's scared of the owner, scared of the boss. He works for the corporation. He wants to steal a bit of cash from the till. Would he steal the entire till? No. A cashier in Safeway, in wherever, Strawberry, wherever, would she steal all the till in one go? Tipsha, mapitom. She'll steal 20 pounds, 50 pounds out of all hundreds, right? Small amounts, which will go unnoticed. Today they will notice it with the computers, I know. But I'm saying theoretically, yeah. So now what? 4 or 5 sheep. You're right, but soon. That's a big amount. You will buy it from the shepherd because such an amount is too big to go unnoticed, and therefore he didn't steal it, right? And the same thing goes, says Rabbi Yehuda, and we'll continue. Says Rabbi Yehuda, Oimer, baitot lokhin mehen. Baitot are those who sleep at home, which means if the shepherd's nearby, if they sleep every night in Ramat B'Shemesh and the owner is involved in their lives, like a good parent, and he would notice even one sheep. The owner is the tough boss, he's on top of things. They're right here. Where's the one sheep? The shepherd can't get away with murder, not even one sheep. So you're allowed to buy it from him. We assume it didn't go unnoticed. Midbarios ain't looking man. Dafka here, as opposed to the store with the milk, the ones in the midbar, you don't buy from him because the owner is a lawyer who works in Tel Aviv. He has a shepherd as a side business. He has a sheep where not near Beersheba. He doesn't know what's going on with each one. It's an investment. Does everybody know exactly what happens in an investment every day? Some people, yes, some people know. He won't notice one sheep or two. In the midbar, don't buy anything. In the midbar, they're prone to be gneva. We're not talking now about which numbers the Rebbe talk about. Please ignore that. They'll be discussed later. That's the end. A klal shel dover, finishes off the brisa. Finishes off. What's the rule of thumb? What's the rule? Klal shel dover. Kol sharoya moicher. Whatever the roya may sell, ubal bais margish boy. The balbais, what's margish? Would notice, would feel it, which means notice. Loichin man, right? Then you're allowed to buy. The assumption is it would be noticeable, and therefore it's probably not stolen. And that we can assume that chazaka is good enough. Ein margish boy, ein loichin man. If the Baalim would not have noticed it because one sheep or one in the midbar, small little petty business there, that dafka, the small amounts, don't buy from them. That's the end of the brisa, which now we're going to break into pieces. Omar Mar is always in a moira talking. So Ellen, you okay? Yeah, Omar Mar? Yeah, Omar Mar. Loikhin man dalit veit son. Now this, the Gemara is not people talking. This is not a website 4 or 5. What did the brisa mean? That's halacha. Shall I buy 4 from them or 5? What do you say? 4 or 5? Yeah. Dalit ve'gizin. Hashta yesh loimer. Now you can say arboz abrinan. If you really mean 4 are noticeable enough. It's a big enough number that cannot go unnoticed, and you can buy it from him. Chamisha mibai. So why did the brisa have to mention 5? The brisa is not like a kid talking 4, 5. If you said 4, then the word 5 is redundant, and these are not stam. Omer of Chizda, as you said, arba mitoch chamisha. It's percentage. If the shepherd has a flock of 5, 4 out of them would already not go unnoticed. They would be noticed. So now I did not yet check here the halacha. I have to do my homework. It means a big percentage, meaning 4 out of 5. That percentage is so big that cannot go unnoticed. You can buy. I assume the same thing would be 8 out of 10, Mr. right? 4 out of 5, but I'm not sure. I assume he means percentage, big percentage, which is what, like 90% more? 80, of course, I meant 80. 80%, that already is too much for him to steal, and therefore he can buy it. Some say, Amav Chizda, Arbo me'eder cotton, the Chamesh me'eder godol. 4 and 5, as you said, depends on percentage. If it's a small herd, I don't know how many. I do admit that it was late at night yesterday when I finished it. I didn't check the halacha, exactly the pshat, but 4 can be taken from a small herd, whatever that is. 5, either godol. If it has a larger kind of herd or flock, then 5 are already go noticed and not unnoticed, and that is already something that you can buy. You okay?
I'm just laughing.
Why?
4 on the small flock and 5 on the large flock.
Right. What's the problem?
4 on the small flock is more noticeable than 5 from a large flock.
They're both noticeable.
No,
They're both noticeable.
5 from a large flock is not noticeable. 4 from a small flock is noticeable.
Why?
That's
No.
how you define large.
And
Of
define,
course.
depends how you
No,
define
not true.
small.
Mapito. The small, no.
A small flock
This-
of 20.
No.
A small
4 out of 40 is like 5 out of 50. Mapito. Absolutely. No, I'm sorry. This is not math. This is some logic. The smaller the herd, the less are more noticed. Not true. The small, Mapitom. No, I'm sorry, Alan. No. If you have a small class of children, each one is noticed. That I know from Chinuch. If you have a large class, more kids go unnoticed. Absolutely. I'm sorry. Think again. No.
a small flock of 10, take 4 away, you've got 6 left.
No.
A large flock of 100, take 5
Oh,
away.
you decided it's 10 and 100, my friend.
Yeah.
You decided that. I was careful and I said, I don't know what's small, I don't know what's large. And therefore, we have to be careful. But generally speaking, of course, from a smaller group, you notice more each one. From a large group, you notice less. So only a larger number will be noticed more. Weiter. Beikadamri, some say. 1 second. Hogu Fakasha. One more question. We can get to the 2 dots and then we'll finish for today. Comes the Gemara now with a different question regarding what? The missing number. What did we say? 4, 5, you can buy. They will go, yes, noticed. 2 will go unnoticed. So then don't buy. 2, he probably already nicked. You say nicked in America? Yeah. You nicked it. Yeah. 2 of them you nicked from the guy, from the owner. So don't buy them from him. Greg the Gemara, the obvious question. What about 3? Hagu Fakasha. There's an internal contradiction here. Amarta dalet veitzon dalet veigizin. Dalet vein 4 and 5 you may buy from them. Aval sholosh loy. Mashma must be 3 you don't buy. That's already too small to be noticed. Would go unnoticed, and he did steal it. Ema Seifa, look at the end of the statement. Seifa, look at the end. Avaloy shteitzon. Don't buy 2. 2 is a very small number. They would go unnoticed. Hasholosh loikin men. Hasholosh zabrinan. So you see 3, you do buy. What about 3? It falls between the cracks. Yes or no? 3. Answers more depends. Loikasha. The beginning and the end do not contradict. 3 is a gray area, meaning obebraisa, obebriosa, obekchishta. Depends. If those 3 are gesund and stark, if those 3 are fat and biggish, relatively big, the belly, the fat, they would be noticed. They would be noticed, so you're allowed to buy them. Oh, bekchishta. If those 3 are little 3 tzipalach, 3 very, very thin, skinny ones, which maybe, flank to the side over there, they would go unnoticed, so therefore don't buy them. 4 would always go noticed in a small flock. 2 will always go unnoticed, even if they're fat. 3 depends on the size. That's why it's dafka left in the middle, dafka to be in the gray area. I do have homework to find out about the 4 and 5, how much is the percentage, what's a large flock, what's a small flock, and tomorrow, I hope the shiur will finish tomorrow 10:25, no guarantees. We'll just finish the shiur tomorrow when we finish the Amud. Okay, don't sit as detention, don't tell your mommy. Sorry. And, okay, see you then. Go to, bye-bye.
Monday.